Hello, everyone. Just making sure that you guys can see and hear me well. If you're joining in, first of all, welcome and thanks so much for dropping by. Let me know in the comments if you can see and hear me well. And don't be shy, say hi, introduce yourself, and we'll get started very soon. Okay, while people are still joining, I hope you guys can hear me. Anyways, if not, hopefully you let me know. Yes, thank you, Amy. That helps. Thanks so much. Well, hi everyone. It's been a while since I've been live on LinkedIn. Live has gotten really busy, but I'm excited to get back at it. I'm excited that you guys are joining in today for us to spend some time together. While people are still tuning in, I'm just going to quickly introduce myself for those who don't know who I am. My name is Anna. I'm a career and personal branding advisor, and I work with professionals from different industries to help make their job search more productive and help them get hired faster and finally land that awesome job that they truly deserve and, of course, want. For those of you who have seen me on LinkedIn, you know that I talk a lot about personal branding, how to position yourself in the competitive job market environment, resume writing, LinkedIn, how to network your way to a job, those sorts of things. And by the way, if you're new and you have never met me before, first of all, great to have you here. And second, if you feel like it, follow me on LinkedIn. I also have a YouTube channel where I post weekly videos on career-related topics. So if that's something that you're interested in, please, by all means, do feel free to subscribe. My YouTube channel is still very small. So if you show some support, it would really, really mean a lot to me. Okay, there are more people joining in. Yes, Happy New Year, Emmanuel, you too. Thank you so much for finding the time and joining us today. Happy New Year, Maita. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Sorry if I didn't. It would be great if you guys, again, don't be shy. Say hi in the comments. Let us know where you're joining us from, where you're located. I think that will be cool to know. Again, for those of you who don't know, I'm from Calgary, so I'm joining you all the way from Canada. It's snowy but nice here today. But anyways, I hope your day is going well. So today, the topic that I want to talk about is a little bit different from the stuff that I normally share content on. Because again, for those of you who have potentially seen me on LinkedIn, you know that I talk a lot about job search strategy and all the tactical pieces that come with it. But today, I really felt like talking about this important big question that is kind of always over our heads. But for whatever reason, not many people find enough time to find the right answer to that question. And that question is, how can you find a career or a job that you truly love? Is that even possible? Is that something that is attainable? So definitely we'll talk a bit about the different strategies that evolve around this topic. And I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this as well. So anytime throughout the throughout the session, feel free to let me know in the comments what your thoughts are, because as I advertised in my post, it's going to be an honest conversation. So I'm not here to talk, smart strategies. I'm not here to give all the answers to all the questions. I'm here to share my honest opinion on the topic based on the hundreds and hundreds of job search stories that I hear from people that I work with, as well as my own personal experience with it. And I would love to hear your personal experience as well. So like I said, don't be shy. Type in the comments anytime. So the topic of finding the career or a job you love has always been really close to my heart, both for personal and professional reasons. First of all, I've had my own personal questions and struggles with that topic until I actually did discover the job that I love, and that's the job that I currently have. So I'm pretty lucky. But I would also say that I've learned a few very important lessons along the way. And obviously, I'm still learning every single day. But I feel like a few things that I have to share on the topic could also help many of you out there who are also dreaming about finding a job you love or struggling with that question. I hope that that gives you some perspective and some tips on, saving some headaches and some time. And also, because I work with job seekers on a daily basis, you wouldn't believe how many stories, hundreds and hundreds of stories that I hear every single day. And the most fascinating thing is that those are stories of people who literally could not be more different from one another. Like, somebody is a mother coming back from a maternity leave and kind of rediscovering her professional life. Somebody has been working in an office for the past 20 years and is totally fed up. Somebody is an entrepreneur who is switching from one gig to another, like all kinds of stories out there. And those are people of different ages, by the way, different career paths, like all over the place. But the best part is that the one big thing that all of those stories have in common is that particular struggle of, how do you discover your passion, if that's even the right word to use here? Or is it even worth, a shot? Or is all of that follow your passion, discover your passion thing a total bust, and it's just not something that works in real life? And just the other day, I had a conversation with a prospective client, and he's a mid-career professional who works at a big firm in New York, and he's a marketing leader there. And his big question to me, like in our discovery call, was that he was concerned that the path of how he entered his industry was pretty unconventional. Like, it's not the typical vertical growth resume that you would find for someone at his career level or in the same corporate environment. But his path was very much non-linear, and he was very much concerned with how employers or the other companies that he potentially wants to join in the near future, how they might see and react to that journey. So obviously there are a lot of biases and a lot of stereotypes around this. But the main thing that he told me over the phone was, you know what? Because I did ask him, what's kind of your vision of how you would explain this nonlinear path of how you arrived to who you are today? And his answer was pretty incredible. He said, I always followed my gut feeling of the things that brought me some level of joy or satisfaction. So I never did something just because it was the right thing to do or it would look good on my resume. Obviously, he wouldn't have gotten to the point where he is today if he didn't care about his career growth at all. But at the same time, that's literally what he said. I've always wanted to follow that gut feeling. And that kind of brings us to the idea of, is this even the right approach, following your passion? Is that something that is attainable? Is that something that we can call the reality? Or is it just a dream from, kind of warmed up and presented to us by social media and all of these incredible stories that we keep hearing? And since, the answer to this question of how can you find a career or a job you love has kept me up at night for years already, I've started doing a lot of research and I started having these conversations with people who either have found a job they love. So we kind of had conversations around how that happened, or they are on the other side. So they're completely in a job where it's totally not something that they want and they really want to get out. And what are some of the thoughts that they're having at that point? If any of you guys can relate to that, let me know in the comments, even by typing yes or a thumbs up, then I'll know that I'm not alone having thoughts like that. And other people, I'm sure that there are a lot of people who have had the same question. Oh, and by the way, we have a really good crowd. We have someone from Morocco. Hi, Hamza. We have James from Sydney. We have Maita from Philippines. Wow, that's a really, really nice crowd. Thanks, guys, for joining. So if you can relate to the struggle, let me know in the comments by typing yes, giving thumbs up, something. Yes, James can relate. Awesome. And, I've been through the exact same question, so there's absolutely nothing wrong with admitting that you've been through the same struggle. So I want to share some thoughts that I have at this point on, why is this process of finding a job we love or finding a career you love so hard and so frustrating for so many people? Because, I'm thinking if so many people all over the world are struggling and the numbers of people who aren't happy with the work that they're doing are only going up, if you read the studies and some articles in credible journals, you'll see that, those numbers aren't going down at all. They're actually growing at a pretty staggering speed. So clearly, if that question was so easy to answer, not that many people would be struggling with this question. So I have kind of three main lessons that I want to share with you today. And again, let me know in the comments below if that's something that you've also been through, or whether it's something that is going to be brand new, like a new perspective from a different angle. I think the very first challenge with why this question is so tricky to answer is because we don't always focus on the right question. So if you think about it, what question are we really trying to answer here? And the immediate thought that comes to mind is, well, it's a question of what it is that I want to do with my life. Or it could be a question of what do I enjoy doing in general? Like, what is that calling? What is that passion? And what matters to me the most in my professional life? But I think that the real problem is that that's not actually the question. This is just a cover up for the actual question that is going on inside people's heads. And that question is a lot more challenging. That question is, okay, what is my real passion? But also the kind of passion that is guaranteed to bring me stable income, like that would financially help me meet my financial goals. Also the kind of passion that would bring me joy and satisfaction for the rest of my life. So here I have it. I found it. Finally, I did all the work. I arrived here. What do I like? That's it. So that's the passion that I want to have for the rest of my life. Also, hopefully, it's the kind of passion that does not have me work 24 hours every single day, because, having some work-life balance would be good. And finally, it would be great if that passion was extremely easy to explain to like my networks and connections and contacts and my friends, so that it doesn't actually create a lot of questions that I don't know how to answer. So that's the real question. And you see how the list of criteria can go on and on and on. And then here we are thinking, well, why is it so hard to find a job that we really love? Well, because it's not what we're really looking for. What we're really looking for is to satisfy a huge, enormous list of criteria that we don't even know if they can be satisfied all at the same time. So no wonder so many people are puzzled with that question and keep hitting the snooze button on, finding the right answer, because we don't even know whether that answer exists. And, someone like I said, I had some of my own personal struggles with finding my passion and the kind of work that I love doing. And the one thing that I learned is that if you truly want to have not just a job, and I mean that in the broadest sense possible. So if you want to have something that is more than just a job, more than just a 9-to-5 thing that I have to go to just to check that off my list, then it's going to take quite a bit of courage. Like literally a lot of people, especially I guess at the younger age, but even later in life as well, we have that perception, and I was guilty of feeling the exact same way, that, well, if I'm going to be doing the thing that I love doing, it's going to be pretty natural. It's going to be pretty easy. But the thing is that you have to get there, and that journey is like, it's in the trenches. There's a lot of things that you need to overcome, including critical comments from the closest people that you always have trusted and have always known, and all sorts of public opinions and all of that stuff that even if we pretend like it doesn't affect us, it always does. So if you're not prepared to take all of that sacrifice, then maybe your priority is a little bit different. So I think when it comes to finding a career or a job that you love, it comes down to where is your top priority set and how is that top priority set. So my top priority was set on finding a job that I would love, regardless. Well, obviously I probably wouldn't take like a whole huge sacrifice that would endanger my life, for example. But I was prepared to try a lot of different things. I was prepared to be extremely uncomfortable, and I was prepared to face so much uncertainty that would make me anxious every single day. But the good news is that once you get through it, on the other side could be exactly what you're looking for. And, I don't think that I've told many people this, but my degree was actually in hardcore finance. So when I was doing my bachelor's degree, I thought that that's what I'm going to be doing. And all of my classmates and people around me and people that I knew and hang out with, they were all focused on like a super targeted career in investment banking or management consulting firms. And that was the dream. So anybody who fell outside of that framework would be an outlier, maybe a loser to somebody, or all sorts of things. So, again, at a younger age, you are a lot more reluctant to not care what other people think about you. So whether we like it or not, we do care to an extent. And I somehow decided that that's fine. I'm just going to deal with it. It's not going to be always easy, but I'm going to set that aside and I'm going to focus, keep my eyes on the prize. And the other thing that I learned after finding my passion was that, your passion is going to evolve. And that's something that is 100% certain. So even if you discovered your passion tomorrow and you're like, wow, this is exactly what I'm going to be doing, you're not going to be doing that for the rest of your life. That's guaranteed. So to some extent, once you start doing that passion every single day, when you start doing all the other things that accompany that journey, and you need to also get some other work done, your passion is going to evolve and you're going to start enjoying doing other things at the same time. And that's okay as well. That's why I think one of the biggest lessons to remember here is that it's not a final destination. So if you're focused and if you're truly determined to find that career or that job that you're going to really love, it's not going to end at a certain point right there because, oh yeah, here it is, I found it. It's going to be a lot trickier than that. And the second big thing that, again, that's something that I can definitely derive from the stories of my clients and all the job seekers that I've spoken to over the years, is that we really tend to overestimate our ability to know what, or to forecast what it is that we really want. So, we hear all of these go-to kind of gold standard stories online or on social media, how someone was studying something. Let's say they were studying, I don't know, philosophy. And then one day they just woke up and said, hey, I want to revolutionize social media. And they came up with this awesome idea. And they left the university and they just opened their own business. And they've been successful ever since because they found their passion. I mean, obviously, first of all, I'm sure that those stories obviously do exist, but I'm sure that if you actually dive it's a lot more complicated than just one day you wake up and that's what it is. That's one thing. And the other thing is that in reality, those stories are a lot less linear. So once again, it's not the same clear pattern all the time. In reality, you can be all over the place. You might be trying a lot of different things before you can finally know what it is that you really want. And I think that that is something that so many job seekers these days need to work on, myself included. Like I'm not looking for a job, but we all need to work on this. Think about it this way. So if you're trying to get somewhere and you're using your Google Maps or you're using like a GPS, and that map on the GPS is not full, like it's not complete. It's not showing you all the different buildings, all the different turns and directions. And yet here you are looking for some kind of a final destination on a map that is not complete. How can you do that? So the same thing applies to your career. If you have very little or very limited knowledge about all the different jobs and possibilities and opportunities in terms of your career development that exist out there, how can you figure out what you're truly good at and match that with some kind of a passion or some kind of a feeling of joy or satisfaction from the work that you do? So I think the number one most important thing that you can do if you really want to find the job or a career you love is start learning about more jobs and careers out there. Because I can guarantee you that if you log on online right now and you Google job titles, like in different industries, you're going to be amazed at how many jobs you have never even heard of. And you'll be like, was that a thing? How long has it been around? But maybe, who knows? Maybe that's exactly what you're looking for. And here you are not even knowing that that option is now available. So I think updating your career GPS is very, very important if you want to find a job that you truly care about and you truly love. And finally, the third, I guess we can call it a life lesson, is that a lot of job seekers, again, the people that I've worked with, the people that I've heard from, they always told me that, hey, you know what? I underestimated the power of chance in how my career turns out. And what it means is that, how many times in life has there been a situation where just one meeting with one person or just one conversation has pretty much changed your entire future? It changed your life. It changed your perception of things. It changed your career maybe already. So think about it. One meeting, one phone call, one conversation, or one email. And here we are trying to pretend like we're in control of everything. I think, that's one of the biggest thoughts that I always follow kind of throughout my life. And also the thing that I try to get across to other people with the help of my content is that you always need to remember that there are going to be a ton of things that you can't control. And focusing too much of your energy on that is just going to drain you and lead you nowhere. So it's important to focus on the things that you can control. And, yes, planning is great. And, as a career advisor, I do help people plan their job search. I do help them plan their career growth and the strategy to get from point A to point B. But at the same time, I'm under no illusion, and neither is my client, that chance is always going to be there. And most of the time, it might play a much bigger role in how their career evolves than we initially might have thought. So, and don't get me wrong, I'm not promoting the idea that you shouldn't plan anything and you should just go ahead and do all kinds of random things, because obviously that may not be a good idea. And we're still adults who need to have some kind of responsibility for our actions and decisions that we make. But at the same time, there are so many people who want to plan for everything, and that leads them nowhere. That leads to years of soul searching, those touchy-feely conversations that never end and never truly get you anywhere. So when it comes to finding a career or a job that you love, I think one of the best things, again, is to get uncomfortable with uncertainty, understanding that you cannot truly predict, or you may not be able to truly predict what it is that you really want. And the only thing to find out is to start trying different things. And that's pretty much exactly what I told to this prospective client that I told you about a few minutes ago, the guy with a non-linear path, the unconventional path in his resume, is that, yes, maybe it does look unconventional and maybe it is non-linear. But at the end of the day, he's tried so many different things that now he has a lot more clarity on what it is that he wants, what it is that he does best, and how he can match that with what some companies and hiring managers are looking for. So kind of to I guess to recap the whole idea is that you what finding your passion, which is like a very common, almost a buzzword advice out there, truly means, or the way you can apply it to your job search or to your professional life, what it really means is realizing and defining your strength and then figuring out how to leverage it in a way that would bring you satisfaction. Because at the end of the day, if you've probably noticed that a lot of the times we enjoy the things that we're just innately good at. So if I'm good at writing and I write good, I write good content, I'm going to enjoy doing that because I'm going to hear positive feedback. I'm going to enjoy the process, and I'm going to be very happy with the result. And it's going to, satisfy my criteria for what it means to write a good piece of content. So at the end of the day, if you know what you're good at and you can leverage that, you're way closer to finding a job that you truly love. And that's why personal branding is so, so important. And by the way, for those of you who are avid readers and you want to read a good book on the topic that'll give you even more food for thought, there's a really good one. It's called So Good They Can't Ignore You: Why Skills Trump Passion in the Quest for the Work You Love. I think that's like the full name, by Cal Newport. So he's a university professor. He wrote multiple books, but this one is really it's been a game changer for so many people in a way how they view the whole find your passion idea. And obviously in the book, he totally destroys the whole follow your passion idea, but I think there's some merit to it, but it's up for your own interpretation. So I hope that makes sense. And if you get your hands on that book, let me know if you enjoy it. And I'm gonna look at your comments now to see if you have any questions. By the way, guys, if you have your own thoughts on the topic, please feel free to type in the comments. I would love to read some of them out loud, share with the audience, and we'll just get to know one another. Because at the end of the day, we're here to learn together, and let's use this as an opportunity. And for you to also practice networking. Look at that. Eddie said, hello, I'm late, but hello from Atlanta. Hey, Eddie, it's good to have you here. Thanks for joining. Okay, do we have any question? Okay. Have a question from Kate. She's actually watching me on YouTube. I hope you're still here, Kate. So she's asking, what can you suggest to people, for example, people from oil and gas industry who had higher education, have had worked in the industry, and now the industry is slowly dying? How to find something without another experience, because the comment is not complete. So that's a great question. I think, a lot of people are kind of in the same boat this way, because a lot of industries have been affected by the pandemic and will never truly be the same. So I think, it's this could be by the way, could be literally a topic for a whole separate 1 hour conversation. But to give you a somewhat short answer, I think, first of all, it comes down to understanding what your personal brand, which means who you are, the value you can add to companies, what that comes down to. Because a lot of the times we're kind of reverse engineering, right? So we're looking at the job posting, or we're looking at companies, and we're figuring out how we can fit what we have into that scenario. And that approach works in a lot of cases. But in a case like that, when you're moving from one industry that has no prospects for future whatsoever, I think it's important to understand what your core strengths are, the core ways how you will be able to add value to companies, and then you take that, you start building a personal brand around that, and you start exploring opportunities of how you can transition that into new industries. So if you want more kind of detailed information on it, I actually have a video on my YouTube channel, how to change careers during COVID. It's one of the many videos I did on career change, but it's the most recent one. And there I kind of break it down to actual tangible steps and strategies, but it definitely has the same idea. So it's about transferable skills. That's one of the concepts that I cover in that video. And it's about understanding what you have and how to move that to another industry. Because quite honestly, a lot of people that I've worked with, well, the exact reason that they came to me for help and support and coaching was because they did not have clarity around who they are. Once you have clarity around who you are, what your core strengths are, and how you can leverage that to add value, you basically have a personal branding strategy. And that is the core of answering that question of how you can transition to another industry or to another career. So I hope that answers your question, Kate. Stephen actually shared another book by Cal Newport, Deep Work. I haven't read that one, so I'll definitely check it out. If you guys are curious, feel free to check it out as well. Okay, let me read through the rest of your comments. Have a lot of people joining from different countries. That's so great. And we have Stephen, who is a recruiter, tech recruiter in Toronto. So maybe if you guys are looking to connect with Stephen, feel free to reach out to him. Actually, it's funny because, not many people realize that during these live streams, you can actually network with other people who are joining in. So there were a couple people who find jobs in the comments under my live streams. Like, that was pretty amazing. So they got connected with someone, and then they messaged me like a month later saying, hey, remember I asked you that question and I got connected with this person, and then they landed jobs. So that's pretty cool. Okay. Let's see. Eddie, I've been an educator for 21 years and trying to pivot to tech, instructional design, corporate training. However, I'm having a hard time to figure out my strengths are relevant in the business world. So definitely, again, great question, Eddie. Not to get too specific, I think the biggest thing is you might need an external perspective on this, because figuring out your strength and kind of linking that to the business world from the educational space, it could be a challenge. But at the same time, a lot of educators find a really, really good spot in the business world because of the skills that they develop through their educational experience. So I think what might help is actually working with someone to help you figure this out. And I'm not saying that because that's the kind of work I do. It's because I truly believe that when it comes to these kinds of questions, we all have blind spots. I have them too when it comes to myself. And that's why I also work with other coaches and I ask other people for help and advice. So I don't only rely on my own internal perspective or vision of things. So I truly believe that in your case, having that external perspective could be a game changer, just to help you nail down that messaging and and by messaging, I mean the messaging of your personal brand, the messaging of how those skills from your over like more than 20 years in education, how they translate into the business world. So if you've considered that, maybe try it out and let me know how that goes. Hey, Patrick. So Patrick is asking, which view do I support? The first one is try as many different fields as possible to get a taste of everything and then end up with the job you like the most, even if you're over your 30s. And the second one, be focused on one specific thing and go for it from your early ages. That's a great question, Patrick. Thanks. I think, honestly, it depends on the person. Like, that's the most political answer that I could have given right now, instead of actually leaning towards one or the other. So if you're asking about me personally, I would go for one. But I also understand that there are some people who, due to the fact that they were smart about selecting for example, their degree, or they had some kind of a start in life where they actually had a pretty good focus on a certain area, and then they started kind of deepening their experience and narrowing it down and growing vertically in that field. And that may have worked for them. But I also have worked with a lot of people who have been through that. So they have vertically grown in one narrow industry or one narrow niche. Yeah, probably niche is the right word here. And then they realize that that is not something that they want to do anymore. So to answer your question, I think it depends on what stage you're at in your life and your career. It's not about age. I'm not talking about age at all, because I've worked with people who are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and so on. And most people have still the same kinds of questions and very, very similar challenges. So what I mean by stage in life is, maybe today, if you found that one area and you are super 100% focused on that area and you want to grow in that, then second approach will definitely work for you, and you might love what you're doing. But you also might stop loving it at some point, like after 20 years, when you've pretty much done everything and have taken the most out of that area. You might stop loving it. And that's what I was saying in the beginning, about the fact that your passion evolves. And that's okay. So I think people shouldn't be afraid to take those leaps and make those transitions later on when they have built that experience in one industry, because you can move. You absolutely can. I'm watching people do that every single day. I'm helping people do that every single day. So it's definitely possible. So I'm not sure whether that answered your question, Patrick, but that's kind of my view on it. I think it depends on the person, depends on the stage of life, and it could be a mix of both. Somebody could start off with one and then move to the second approach once they find what they want. Somebody might start with two and then after 20 years realize that that's not working, although for 20 years it maybe was working fairly well for them. Okay. Question from James: how to overcome being passed over for jobs as an older person? Well, that's a good question. So definitely, since we are having an honest conversation, age discrimination is real. And, every once in a while I get reminded of how real it is. And it just amazes me every single time. Like just the other day, I was talking to someone who had an interview at Facebook, and she told me that, one of the interviewers, like there was a whole process with many different interviewers, and one of the interviewers has literally asked her, would you be comfortable working with younger people, and how do you feel you would fit? Like, I mean, and it was even like, let's be honest, he said that looking at a woman who is in no way considered like of an older age, like it's not even close to that, but yet he already kind of drew that line. And my point with that story is that yes, that stuff is absolutely real. So one thing you can do is make sure that your resume is kind of ageless, so that there is no indication on your resume whatsoever to your age. It doesn't mean that you have to hide all the dates and stuff, but sometimes like it's a normal thing in the recent years. People do not put the date next to their education, for example, not to reveal the actual year when they graduated. Also, there are ways how you can summarize your earlier experience, and remember that when you're writing a resume, you're pretty much covering the last 10 to 15 years. So if there's anything beyond that, so any earlier experience, it doesn't necessarily need to be reflected on your resume unless it's like 100% adding value and relevance to what makes you a good candidate for the job that you're applying for today. But the most important thing to remember here is that you don't need to show the entire autobiography in your resume. So that's strategy number one, making your resume ageless. And the other thing is, we truly can't control how other people feel about this. So it's not like I can go into the hiring manager's brain and get them to start thinking differently about age. If they think that age is a factor and in some way it bothers them, then it's their problem, and there's nothing you nor I can do with it. But what you can do on your end is you can make sure that you keep up with all the latest in your field, in your industry. So if there's a new technology that is coming out that is becoming huge, if there's a new trend in the industry that everybody's talking about, you need to be part of that conversation. And in that way, building some of that personal branding and thought leadership on LinkedIn, for example, or on other social media, that could be a great strategy to mitigate any kind of age biases. Because when you develop a strong enough personal brand online, when you're active, when you're showing that you're keeping up with everything that's going on in your industry, like you're staying on top of all the best and newest and latest, then nobody will ever come out and say, hey, you are too old for this. Like nobody would do that. So I think that's more of a long-term strategy, whereas the resume one, that one is only for getting that initial phone call. But once you get the phone call, though, if that person still is age biased and believes that that's a big issue, there's just this much you can do. I mean, obviously, you can kind of pay a little bit more attention to how you position yourself and how you behave in that interview, because a lot of the perception of age comes with the style of our communication. So if kind of the person is like very slow and it kind of, sounding and looking exhausted and has that like sharing opinions in a certain way that is very close-minded, that can lead to more of those kind of confirming any kind of biases that people might have around age. But if you are upbeat, if you are energetic, if you're bringing your A game, if you are truly, truly open-minded, and you're showing that, so not just saying with words, but you're actually showing it with your experience, with your knowledge, with your thought leadership, then age will not be that much of an issue. Okay, I'm going to take one last question, you guys, from Lena. Do you think showing a good attitude and willing to add value to the company in other ways, not having the study that the company is asking for, is still worth to apply for the job position? So I'm guessing the question is, if you don't really have the education or the educational background that the company is asking for, but you can do the job, can you still apply for it? My answer is definitely yes. So I'm definitely not the person who's going to tell you not to take a chance on things. I think that's already pretty obvious, given that I spent like a third of this session talking about, the power of chance in our career development. But to get back to your question, Lena, there are definitely ways how you can still show and add value to the company even without satisfying all of the requirements for the job. Like, I think a lot of people, again, have these hesitations where if I don't meet 100% of requirements, I'm not going to apply. So if that's what you're thinking, you definitely need to start thinking a little bit differently about it, in a way that, yes, there are certain requirements and there are certain criteria, but at the end of the day, it's about the market. So it's about the market, and it's about how you are able to stand out in that market. So if, in other words, if the company is getting a ton of applications from people who, A, not only satisfy all the criteria, but B, are also so incredibly awesome and impressive that they want to hire them on the spot, well, that becomes a tougher situation. And then obviously the company then can afford to be a little bit more picky and then say, yeah, I'm not going to consider candidates who are not who do not meet all the 100% of all my requirements. Whereas in other cases, the market can be a little bit different, and there can be very diverse candidates with diverse backgrounds, and it's okay if you are not meeting the 100% of the job requirements. At the end of the day, like you said, if you're showing a good attitude, yes, and then you're willing to add value, not only willing, if you're showing how you're going to add value. So, for example, if we're talking about going into an interview, you could come with not just like, oh, yeah, I'm going to ask them this question, and you can come with like answers that you have prepared, but come with actual ideas. So look at the problem that the company might be having that is related to your field, and do some research as to why maybe they are hiring talent, what kind of problem they're trying to resolve, and then come up with a few strategies that are already actionable that you can share with them during the interview, and they'll know that here you are already, not even hired yet, but already thinking like a true problem solver, and creating actual ideas that are relevant, that are interesting, and that can get them the result that they want. Also, again, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this just right now, because we have to be kind of wrapping things up in a bit. But I do have a few YouTube videos. So please, Lena, if you haven't been to my channel yet, welcome. Check it out. I do have a ton of videos on networking, because one of the things about applying for jobs where you're not meeting 100% of requirements, you need to leverage your network to gain some support, and to maybe find referrals or find an internal champion in the company who can help you get through the hurdles in the application process. So if that helps, please feel free to watch those videos or message me afterwards, and I can send you some links. Okay, well, we're gonna be wrapping things up, guys. Thank you all so much for joining. I think this was really fun. I'm planning to do these live sessions on a weekly basis, so I'm gonna be going live every week. I don't know the exact day yet. Maybe it's gonna be Thursday, maybe not. But if you follow me on LinkedIn, I'll always make sure to update you. So if you see my posts, if you follow me, you'll be in the loop and you'll be able to join in next time. And I hope to see you again soon. I hope you guys are staying well, safe wherever you are. Have a great rest of your day, and feel free to join me again live next week.